Huniepop is in my top 10 favorite games of all time. My autism levels go off the charts when it comes to this crap. You have no idea. There's a disturbing level of misconception surrounding the writing quality of Huniepop. Well, I mean, no, there is. I mean, I've looked at the Discords. That people do not have... People are ye of little faith, you know? There's barely any content on the internet that has the slightest interest in praising Huniepop's character work. So if few warriors will step up, I will. I made a video a while back trying to explain a lot of the great writing trends in Huniepop 1, a lot of the great habits that make it really consumable and nuanced, but it's fairly vague and rambly piece. I figured instead I keep it simple, lean into the strengths, do some good old-fashioned character analysis work. It's rough because Dronable is pretty much the only other person on the internet who has made any Huniepop analysis content that I've seen, and his content is very good. But he doesn't cover everything, and I don't agree with 100% of his analysis. And, I mean, I'm not disagreeable with him, but slight different interpretations, and I don't really want to be expected to have to know literally every single detail of the entire game, but beggars can't be choosers. So, let's go down the list from... I think, from my perspective of least interesting to most interesting characters. We'll start with the secret characters that have way less going on than the main cast. Momo is a cat. On replaying Huniepop to collect footage and textual evidence and such, my opinion on both Momo and Nikki has improved drastically. They're just a lot more charming than I have previously gave them credit for, which is surprising because I played this game a lot already. Momo doesn't have any aspect of her character that is really relevant to this video. She's just still a dumb cat girl, but I don't know, I like her a lot. She's cool.
Master, how come there's two of you?
Celeste, I pretty much just agree with Dronable's takes. Celeste is pretty cool because you don't get to see a ton of characters in media that meld emotional expression with off-puttingly analytical behavior and speech patterns. I think this largely has to do with her voice acting. It sells her unique personality really well.
Appreciated. This should sustain me for a short while.
Whatever she got. She's a nocturnal alien from an ice planet. I think her species has borderline supernatural powers, like they have biological reincarnation and some shit. The technology seems highly advanced. They don't seem to be on a completely different plane of existence from humanity. They seem to have similar mental capacities. I can't imagine that Celeste would find the MC's knowledge and talent of knowledge attractive otherwise, if humanity was fundamentally on a lower level of cognitive ability than her species. There's really not much I have to say on her. She's just has a charming but simple personality.
I wonder, just how intelligent are you?
Venus is the last of the extra characters, and again, she's pretty boring. I don't entirely agree with Dronable's analysis of her, though. Like, he uses Venus's hobby of relaxation, quote-unquote, as an example of how nothing her personality is, but several of Venus's lines and attitudes suggest that this is a bit of a character quirk. Venus is kind of embarrassed about being caught relaxing or taking time off or, you know, indulging in weird shit. She puts on this haughty attitude most of the time and tries to be diligent and commanding as a goddess, but as a secret guilty pleasure, she just likes slacking off and doing nothing. But this is hardly anything. She still has much less going on in the main cast, and I have to agree with Dronable. She has no good lines. I don't even have a funny, memorable line to play as a send-off, but I'll try to dig something up. I don't know.
Get it out of my sight!
Aiko is the next character I have relatively the least to say about out of the big cast. I've never been the biggest fan of Aiko. She's the only one that I'm not, like, super in love with. Although I get the appeal. I think, personally, okay, one thing, I think I just don't like Aiko's default outfit. She doesn't have a ton of great alternates, either, but her default especially just looks really dumb. I do not see her personality wearing this day to day, especially in the environments she supposedly wears this. I get that she's like a bad teacher stereotype, but I still don't think she would wear this while giving lectures at a university or around campus. Aiko doesn't want to put up with any sort of hassle. She's lazy and unmotivated. I don't see her doing anything flashy in her daily grind out of fun or ambition or anything. But her bad outfit aside, Aiko is, that hashtag relatable. She's a depressed, lazy woman with no real passion for her career, no plans to change anything about her lifestyle, just kind of getting through each day, trying to have as little hassle as possible, relying on vices for the dopamine, serotonin, whatever she's missing. She's an alcoholic, gambling addict, porn and sex addict, etc. These are not without consequence. Now, this is, again, I haven't studied Aiko as closely as most of the rest of the cast that I like more. So there's some details that I think probably can be interpreted subtextually that I just haven't done that yet. We know Aiko has lingering debts that she can't pay off. I don't know where these debts come from or when. Are they student loans from earning her degree? There might be some evidence to that. She says that she regrets getting her master's degree, but she tends to complain about everything in her life that led her to this point that she's at, and she's unhappy in her current job, so I don't know if we can read into this line to infer that her degree is linked to her debt. I don't know if this debt or any other factor in her life was part of the catalyst that snowballed into her current lifestyle, or if these are just all elements that coexist naturally, feeding into and off of each other. Like, her debt could have arisen out of her gambling habit because she was already depressed for one reason or another. No one more important than the rest. I think it's student loan debt, though. If I had to pick an interpretation, I would say that. Aiko is likable because she's very honest. She takes most things in good sarcastic humor, and she's someone that you can easily vent with, since venting is half of what she wants to do anyways. That's not to say that she isn't judgmental. She certainly is, and she will get very angry at the MC for making mistakes or not living up to her expectations, and she makes fun of people. Aiko is also fun because she entertains thoughts that most people wouldn't in a more optimistic state of mind. She has less of a moral impulse, so she can more casually talk about her insecurities, weaknesses, embarrassing mistakes, etc. She's kind of non-judgmental about anything that doesn't affect her in the moment, I guess you would say. For some of the Huniepop cast, I have to wonder how healthy the relationship the MC has with each girl. Most of the Huniepop cast is split straight down the middle between characters that are trying to overcome their problems with healthy habits like Lola, Belly, Tiffany, and Kiana, and characters that fall victim into negative habits and addictions and creating toxic spirals like Aiko, Jessie, Audrey, and arguably Nikki, depending on how you interpret her life choices. Literally split the 8-character cast half and half along those lines. Aiko's relationship with the MC can be seen as a benefit to her mental well-being. She's arguably happier, more satisfied, maybe more motivated in the relationship. But then again, Aiko is open about how she has no fundamental desire to change or improve herself. She doesn't want a long-term relationship. She just wants to have fun with somebody who gets her. She doesn't want to push herself out of her comfort zone, even if it's in her best interest of her life or her mental health to do so. So is the relationship healthy or harmful, or just kind of more of the same? A lot of people say that Jessie's relationship with the MC is shallow, that she sees it very casually and she doesn't care that much about the relationship, but I strongly disagree with that. And personally, I think Aiko puts the least value on her relationship out of the whole cast. I think Aiko has a selfish sort of attachment to her relationships. Like, I think she'd be offended and take it as a negative if something she wants doesn't go through in the relationship, or so she'd get really angry and frustrated at a problem with the relationship, but I don't think Aiko really sees it as an important part of her life. Really, Aiko and Jessie are kind of interchangeable in this way, depending on how your interpretation leans. They both really don't want to grow up or face their problems and improve their lives in different ways. The two characters with the strangest sleep schedules in the game, this is another great thing about Huniepop, is how it melds its gameplay systems with its writing habit, with its writing and characterization. The two characters that have really the strangest sleep schedule in when you can interact with them are Aiko and Audrey, the two characters suffering from depression. Audrey tends to sleep in the morning and doesn't wake up until noon, whereas Aiko is the other form of depressed person who lacks energy and sleeps a lot, but she has a job that she can't miss. So she gets up early to go to work, but then once she's done working for the day, she ends up sleeping in the afternoon. She takes a long nap in the afternoon, and as a result, she wakes up and can't sleep very well at night and then feels unrested the next morning. There's one more aspect to Aiko that feels significant, but I'm not 100% confident in my reading of it. See, there's a lot of hidden dialogue in this game with these cool subtextual elements. The game mechanics tell you shitload, like when they sleep, what locations they're usually at, what kind of gifts they like, when and how they'll accept drinks, and all their dialogue. You get so many unique dialogues in so many places. Multiple unique lines for each date location, lines for winning dates, failing dates, nighttime dates, sex, waking up the next morning, lines when offered food they don't like, alcohol when they don't want it, alcohol when they're hungry, doing anything else when hungry, food when full, alcohol when maxed out, offered gifts they like, that they love, that they don't want, lines when you get specific questions wrong, and so forth. With Aiko, a thing I find interesting is the gift type that she loves the most in the game is toys category, which is described in the menus as gifts for a girl who is young at heart. When given toys, Aiko will talk about how she used to play with things all the time and when she was younger, and Aiko generally seems a bit disillusioned with her age. Like, she wishes she was younger. Probably she feels upset with what she's been doing in life, wants to go back, make different decisions. And yeah, the description of young at heart strikes me as telling in some way. Aiko is cool. She has fans for sure. I don't connect with her the same way that I do with the rest of the cast. She's still got charm, though.
Word of advice? I like to be choked.
Next up is Nikki. As far as I'm currently aware, Nikki is fairly well understood. I think she's interesting because she's an example of what someone who is inexperienced and shy and antisocial would actually be like, more or less. Her antisocial, unconfident tendencies are kind of cute some of the time, but Nikki is barely 18, just finished high school, not very socially adjusted, doesn't communicate well. She's not friendly, she's not very reasonable, or anything like that. I think Nikki is a bit more blank than the other characters because she is the youngest. She doesn't feel like an adult. It feels a bit like you could be taking advantage of her naivete, although we have no information as to what the MC's age is. They have no characteristics, so... And, she doesn't have enough life experience to have anything interesting about her. She doesn't have much to say about her life paths, or her goals, or ambitions, or anything, because she hasn't reached the stage of the life where that is a thing, you know? All we know is that she currently works at a barista, hates it, and that she does not want to go to college because she did not like high school, and she thinks, oh, fuck, I'm done with school. She's just a kid, you know? She's gullible in other ways, too. Her beliefs are just, surface-level internet bullshit, surface-level political talking points parroted on on Twitter, believes in dumbass conspiracy theories about ghosts and fucking aliens and shit. Her perception of dating is also fueled by, Reddit advice. She seems to think dating operates on these stupid ideas posited by online pickup artists. She's always talking about dating as if she knows anything about it, as if there are these rules and and systems to it, and she's pleasantly surprised when you just act like a normal human being. She's quick to judgment, but also pretty apologetic even when she's not necessarily wrong. She's just a lonely, antisocial, shy kid, barely out of high school. She isn't really much more of an adult than that. Her worldview is based around the perception of someone who doesn't know what it's like to not be living with their parents, you know? Even so, she does have moments of proactive personhood, and yeah, I've come to the conclusion she's pretty cool. She's not as unpleasant as I had originally thought in social situations. I don't know, she likes hanging out at the beach a lot, she has a variety of interests, she can sometimes be, have a personal will. She can sometimes... One thing I found interesting in my recent go is she sometimes can be found on the university campus in the evening. It's a location that she frequents in the evening time, which is interesting because she doesn't go to university, so she could only be there visiting her friends. I don't know, she's kind of charming.
I like to play video games, especially fighting games and online MMOs.
So let's talk about Jessie next. Why not? Honestly, at this point, the characters have so many parallels with each other, they're all obviously foils of each other, it's impossible to talk about them one at a time. Also, I love all of them almost equally, so putting any of them this low on the list pains me. For Jessie, we need to talk about Tiffany, Kiana, Aiko. You know, Aiko is depressed and bitter about her problems, Jessie is in denial. I want to preface this by saying that I think every girl in Huniepop 1 is a decent person, in my opinion. I don't think any of them are bad people, even the ones with obvious problems. They're mainly destructive to themselves, and they're all pretty highly sympathetic. For Jessie, we understand her history as someone who partied a lot in her teenage years, got pregnant in high school, and had to drop out of high school. Jessie continued to live the same sort of lifestyle that she found success in sex work, success and fame and anything else that she was kind of wanting in her childish, immature lifestyle and her impulses. She used that income to provide for her daughter. Jessie acts the most like a child in the game, having fun, not worrying about the consequences or responsibilities. She likes doing that. You know, she wants to drink, have sex, hang out with her friends, be fawned over, you know, feel worshipped, feel loved, you know. In the opening interactions we see for Jessie, the two interactions with Jessie are her with Belly and her with Lola, both of which are situations where Jessie wants to hang out and have fun with her girlfriends, and she's turned down by both of them. She constantly wants to do whatever she wants, and she feels a bit lonely and ostracized by her friends who are acting more like adults and can't always make time for her childish impulses. Now, a lot of people, Dronable included, perceive Jessie to be this sort of shallow gold digger. Like, she's dating the MC because she's interested in using men for sex and getting expensive gifts from them. That's the perception that people have. I don't think this is accurate to the evidence in the game. Jessie clearly specifies a difference between how she interacts with people that she just has casual sex with and the MC. Jessie says in one or more dialogues that she has not dated for a long time and she's forgotten how fun dating was, clearly implying that she is dating the MC, unlike people that she just fucks. She cares about the MC's opinion on her character and getting to know her. She's very honest and telling the MC about herself and her past, you know, and her mistakes. And she has standards, you know, the MC still has to be someone that Jessie likes. She has standards, she wants them to be her idealized partner. Yes, she loves sex. Yes, she has a strong sex drive, it's something that's very important to her, and she's pleased by being lavished and pampered with gifts and attention and stuff. She values those things, but she isn't using the MC strictly. She likes the MC, she enjoys his or her company, and sees them together as an item. Both of Jessie's introductions, the ones with Bella and Lola, are both her trying to treat her friends. She buys Belly an expensive swimsuit. She offers to buy Lola a round of drinks and treat her. She's just used to money flowing freely, I think. She likes to get it and give it. She's not greedy and hoardy, you know, with possessions. Jessie is clear that they have an actual relationship. She says that she's not the best at monogamy, which is, honestly, she does sex work. Like, I don't even think she really needs to explain herself or feel bad about that fact personally, that she's going to sleep with more than one person. She wouldn't bring that up unless she wants to create some expectation of faithfulness or monogamy. Now, we can look into the near future and see Jessie's downfall play out. You know, we can predict it with ease. She thinks she's just in a bit of a tiff with her daughter, that things will smooth out, and she doesn't proactively try to fix the relationship. Now, it's unclear exactly what hurt the relationship. I'm not sure if Jessie was too fixated on her own selfish lifestyle and neglected Tiffany, or if Tiffany simply doesn't respect Jessie's lifestyle, or one or more events or choices that we aren't strictly privy to. In one of her questions, Jessie asks if you would blame someone for mistakes they made in the past. Now, obviously, she's implying that she made mistakes in the past, but what mistakes is she referring to? Could she mean? I mean, she's very open about her lifestyle and her values and such. I can't imagine she's referring to sex work or lack of monogamy or anything, like she talks about in other interactions. There's probably something else, at least some major mistake or pattern of mistakes that she made that drove a wedge between herself and Tiffany. We know that she loves her daughter. Jessie absolutely loves wholesome, adorable stuff. Jessie and Tiffany's birthdays are both within a month of each other in the holiday season. I believe Jessie's is in January and Tiffany's is in late December. So her love of Christmas is clearly a reference to how much she loves spending time with Tiffany over the years. Tiffany doesn't give us many details, but since we know that Jessie is currently living her life just as childishly as she was when she was a teenager, not trying to mend a relationship with Tiffany, we can probably tell that Jessie just wasn't very responsible as a parent. We can tell that Tiffany is becoming a successful and independent woman. Tiffany is filling her life with new friends and newfound family members, and we can tell that Jessie's denial about her damaged relationship will come back to bite her over the next few years. You know, she's not unaware of her failings and of these attributes. She's not completely ignorant to it. She just, she likes taking it easy. I don't know, she doesn't want to think about it that much. Jessie is pretty sympathetic, you know? I mean, she's like a child celebrity, right? She was popular as a teen, got famous in porn, probably 18 or 19, and she's just been validated to this lifestyle by her never-ending pressure and adoration from her fan base. She was never put into a situation where she had to grow up. She knows she's in denial on some level. When you answer one of the characters' questions wrong in this game, they have a certain set of responses based on what the question was. And Jessie, like for instance, one of her questions, she asks you what you do if you have $1 million or something. She's just being playful and flirty and childish. She wants you to answer that, oh, you'll buy lavish shit for your girlfriend. But if you answer something like, oh, I'll feed the hungry with $1 million or anything like that, she'll respond in a kind of like sad, dejected way. Like, she'll agree with you, and she'll like, yeah, that makes sense. But Jessie is rarely bitter at you getting the wrong responses to her dialogues. She knows in many instances that you're right if you say something that is not exactly what she wanted to hear, but does make sense. And it just makes her feel bad to think about reality and what she should be doing differently right now. So yeah, I like Jessie.
My main hobby. Does getting drunk count?
Okay, moving on to Tiffany then. Now, I like Tiffany. I think she has a unique moment-to-moment personality similar to the appeal of Celeste. Tiffany has a vibrant sense of humor and goofiness to her. She's open to new things, she plays along with anything easily, and she loves joking around. You know, the whole Huniepop cast is meant to, on first appearance, on a surface level, appear like well-recognized stereotypes. You have a saucy cougar, you have a shy, nerdy girl, whatever, you have so Tiffany is like, girl next door, schoolgirl, whatever, application. These are well-understood tropes, but Tiffany is so, her base tropes are so normalized that her personality is very diverse. It's very dynamic, In a funny way, Tiffany is like both of the contradicting tropes. She is the, cheerleader captain and also the girl next door, schoolgirl, whatever. She is the culmination of both concepts wrapped up in this relatively middle ground, like pretty normal, relatable person. So yeah, that being said, she's still someone who, she still wants someone she can relate to personally, unlike, say, like Kiana or Belly, who are looking for someone kind of better than themselves. They want someone to be responsible, someone to, motivate them, to keep them on the straight and narrow, and everything else like that. Tiffany's sense of humor and silliness also relates to what she likes in a partner. She likes taking care of things. It's pretty observable from certain interactions. We know that she does babysitting for Kiana. She enjoys it. She does it for free. She likes helping out. Of course, Tiffany is happy to help Kiana, specifically because Kiana is a foil of Jessie. She's in a very similar situation where Jessie, when Tiffany was born, and Kiana is the, responsible, hard-working mom that Tiffany feels that she didn't get from her own mother. So Tiffany's preferred responses to a lot of questions, they're like cutesy, innocent responses. That's what she likes, where her partner feels adorable and non-threatening, I guess you could say. Like, she likes it if the MC says his or her first kiss was sloppy and unskilled, other stuff like that. She likes other, like, admissions of lack of confidence. She likes coddling, Now, Tiffany is a real overachiever in every aspect of her life. She's really dedicated, intelligent, skilled, sociable, outgoing, responsible, everything. She's a admirable in, like, a well-rounded way. She's an admirable girl at handling her school-life balance. I feel like Tiffany is a character where you're kind of searching for the shoe to drop, I don't mean that she's too good to be true. But I just mean, like, because she's not as clear of a trope in her inception as some of the other characters, it's kind of, the natural human tendency to look at a character is to have a base understanding of, like, what they are, what they're all about, You're like, oh, you're a strong fighter who cares about violencing and whatever, but, Tiffany is such a normal person with, like, normal personality and motivations. She likes a little bit of everything, so that level of, like, not being confident that you know exactly what that you can't find one simplified way of summing her up makes people want to search for that one something, Can we be even sure that every aspect of Tiffany's mentality or lifestyle is healthy? For instance, she hates her mom, which is probably pretty fair, at least from her perspective. As much as Jessie really loves her daughter, that doesn't exactly mean that she's a good parent, or that Tiffany is wrong for recognizing this fact and choosing to cut off her ties to this toxic family member. Is Tiffany an overachiever because she's just a mentally healthy person that handles her shit well, or is she pushing herself to become independent of her mother as soon as possible out of some sort of resentment? And even if that is the case, is that positive or negative? There's not much evidence to suggest that there's anything wrong or unhealthy about Tiffany, but it's just the nature of narrative. It's the nature of the game. The rest of the cast, with all of their weaknesses that you can clearly define, you just have this kind of sneaking suspicion that there's something unhealthy about the way Tiffany handles these things, that there's something that's not ideal here. I'm not alone in thinking this way, despite Tiffany not having anything visibly wrong with her that you can clearly say, yeah, that's a mistake or that's a slight weakness. Even if the other characters have, slight weaknesses here and there, it doesn't have a reasonable explanation, like her disillusionment with her mother. I'm not going so far as Dronable. Dronable says that there's a hidden suspiciousness to Tiffany's character, but I understand the instinct to try to search for some hidden problem in the character. Maybe she's more like her mother than she wants to admit. Maybe her kind of try-hard personality can be seen as an annoyance in some instances, like in Tiffany's introduction scene where Aiko is bothered by Tiffany's overbearing diligence. Or maybe Tiffany is just a down-to-earth, smart, cool, dedicated, loyal, generous, flirty, fun-loving, introspective, chill girl, and it's a testament to her difficult childhood forming diamonds from pressure. Anyways, in any case, she's cool.
What's shaking, Bacon?
I guess Belly is up next? Again, it's just a real sign of great character writing that someone like Belly can come across as extremely innocent, adorable, without feeling naive or cartoonish. In her portrayal. No aspect of her character bio dominates her personality. She's clearly a devout Hinduist who bases a lot of her conscious and passive attitudes on the philosophies of yoga. But she's not just some enlightened mouthpiece. She's a pretty normal, kind-hearted, average woman, first and foremost. She likes eating fast food and having a steady career, and she worries about her weight, and she likes to hang out with friends and blah blah blah. Belly is pretty reserved, fairly shy. She's a really sweet person who worries about things that might be afflicting others or the world at large. She likes the natural world. She cares about the environment. She cares about stuff like world hunger, other causes like that. It's not like she's like a vigilant activist championing a cause. She just practices a lot of meditation and reflection, and she thinks about stuff and the world. Belly's relationship with yoga and Hinduism is part of her ethnic heritage. She's believed in these cultural values since she was raised, and wound up with a career engaging with her backgrounds, teaching yoga at a local gym. There's a lot of uncertainty to Belly. She struggles to overcome certain thought patterns or decide her opinion or direction on some things. She went pretty far in university before deciding that she wasn't actually passionate about what she was studying. I believe it was law. She was originally going to be a lawyer, and didn't end up making a career out of it, which can be viewed in contrast to Aiko, a person who also, Aiko's another character who reflects on her cultural heritage, but who pushed herself through university to get a degree in something she doesn't care about at all, either maybe out of a sense of obligation to get the degree, in something practical like mathematics, or perhaps because her family might have pressured her into pursuing it. We can't be sure, or at least I'm not sure. As for yoga, we can see its lifelong influences on Belly's thought process. Yoga, as a philosophy, teaches about looking for good instead of bad in things, peace of mind, meditation, separating the self from the world, decentralizing yourself, and in some ways, this is perhaps taken too far. As Belly has some self-esteem issues, doesn't have a very big ego, and that can relate to her decentralizing herself to the point where she lets go of her sense of ego and thus doesn't have the same confidence in her own values as someone more egocentric in their thoughts and ambitions, like a Lola. Belly's conversations mostly center around her thinking about theoretical moral situations, spirituality, and empathic world issues, as well as just a lot of, appreciation. She loves to think about and express appreciation for things around her. She takes the time to appreciate the pleasant weather, or the smell of nature in the park. She appreciates her job, her privileges, her opportunities, her friends. She'll stop and see the good things and good reasons to be happy and acknowledge them. But yeah, I'm just a big fan of Belly. Most people are. Not only is she very likable, but she's a great example of balancing deliberate character traits with a believable level of restraint. There's nothing one note about her. She's a bit shy and reserved and has some body image issues, but that's not like that defines her interactions like most characters. She can still be flirty, she can be a bit saucy in certain situations. You know, she values decentralized introspection and morals, but she still has a sense of basic societal necessities. A sense of humor, entertainment, hedonistic appeals and such and so on. And of course, dating and romance, obviously. And also, she loves weird, kinky sex. She's cool. She's also really tall, which I appreciate. It's a small source of bodily insecurity for her, but you don't usually see that kind of figure. Female characters who are especially tall that aren't, Amazonian, or, stick figure model types. You don't see the body type very often in games, which is cool.
Oh, and hi. The person inside of the bikini you're talking to, her name is Belly.
Next, as for Lola, my favorite of the cast, but not quite as the most complex and compelling. I already talked about Lola a lot at length in my favorite female characters video. I will link that down below. It's not worth repeating everything I already said, but for the comparison point to the other characters, Lola is pretty similar to Tiffany, I guess. Lola's character is a bit more isolated from the others, thematically. She's more forward-thinking, whereas everyone else is pretty comfortable in their day-to-day lives, even if they shouldn't be, like Nikki or Jessie, that have things that they'll have to fucking do something eventually. But on a flip side way of thinking, Lola is also a character that cares the least about the past. She doesn't talk about her history as much. We know relatively little about her background because she doesn't talk about it that much, and she doesn't ask many historical questions either. The liberation from the past is something that separates her from Tiffany, whose motivations largely come from her past experiences. I don't know, it's very difficult to draw angles that connect her to the other characters, which is why my favorite girl is not higher on this list.
I'll have a tall glass of whatever she's serving. Know what I'm saying?
Q, same deal. Talked about her in my favorite female characters video. Love her to bits. Love her.
I watch a massive amount of porn.
She can achieve both polar opposite roles effortlessly. She's this shining icon character, this mascot character, but she's also a chill, relatable, down-to-earth bro. And she's great at either one. She doesn't have the same struggles of life as the other characters. She's very well-adjusted and happy, healthy, satisfied individual. Q is the best. She has tons of friends, she works doing what she loves, she takes pride in her job, she's in a good mood all the time. She is simply the best.
Seriously? You're seriously gonna ask me that? It's fucking pink, bitch.
Okay, down to our last two. The most complicated. Audrey and Kiana.
No, bitch! My hair isn't dried out and reeking of smoke, okay?
Whatever, ho. Why don't you go get knocked up again?
You need to turn around and walk away.
What's wrong? Did I hurt your whore feelings?
I love them. Okay, so Audrey, super popular character, one of the most well understood as well. You know, a lot of people just get her. She's a bitter, young adult, a reliant addict that uses vices to cope with her chronic depression and angst and anger at the world and everything in it. Unlike Aiko, who is like a future, not strictly a future version of her, because Aiko, like, made choices that she now regrets that led her to this point in hopes. Aiko is much more dead inside by comparison. She stopped caring about things and just has silently resigned herself to a routine of gambling, drinking, sex, and just drudging through her day-to-day job that she hates. Audrey, in comparison, has more energy. She has some fight left in her. She's still lashing out at her depression and anger and the sense of futility with her life. She hasn't become jaded yet, specifically. She still tries to do things even though she hates them. She still tries to go to school. She tries to hang out with her friends she has trouble connecting with due to her vices and her constant need to distract herself with dopamine. Similar to Jessie, a character who is losing her not losing, but her friends don't want to hang out with her as much as she wants to. Audrey, though she wouldn't admit it out loud, obviously still cares a lot about a lot of things. She really wants a close romantic relationship. She wants companionship. She wants to feel like things matter. She's in a place in her life where she might become like Aiko in the future, or she might get a lot worse. If she crashes harder, if she, say, drops out of school with no degree, burns bridges with some of her friends, gets addicted to more dangerous drugs. Audrey is super likable because she has high energy, she's hilarious, she has great lines, and her constant, loud, angsty outroaring, and she is absolutely adorable with her sympathetic qualities. And it's so cute how she's probably the character in the game that cares the most about her relationship, more than any of the other girls. Like, sure, there are other characters that want long-term relationships, that are maybe looking at a marriage in the future, like Lola, even Jessie, Belly, but they don't necessarily jump into this relationship and think it's going to be the one, you know? They want a serious relationship, but they're not, like, quickly getting attached. Still in the dating phase. Audrey takes the relationship very seriously. She is completely starved for meaningful companionship. She gets attached quickly. She's desperately looking for something to latch onto. In the spin-off game, when her relationship ends, she is absolutely heartbroken. She's, devastated by it. Everything else about Audrey's complexities has been done over 1,000,000 times. There's a lot else about her character, but it's all documented. Watch, I'll link Dronable's video down below, where I talked about Audrey, weirdly enough, really deep into my Last of Us 2 review of all fucking forums. Audrey is a precious, angsty, sad girl, and she rules. Also, based on her gift preferences, she has a pet fish, which is cute. And her nose is cute. Look at it. Look at it. Look at her nose. It's so cute!
Ugh, you're so stupid.
The most awesome thing about Kiana is that she's both the most infectiously likable character and probably the most narratively complex and nuanced. She's this little ball of awesomeness that everybody fucking loves. You know how sometimes when people like something, but they feel a little, like, insecure about their opinion. They're like, oh, you know, I don't have a good enough reason to like this. Oh, you know, or they feel like their opinion is based on something shallow, so people resist their own feelings. They make themselves like the things they like less. Well, worry not, cowards. I will give you reason to let yourself love Kiana as much as your heart can take. As you probably noticed by this point, Kiana has a lot of parallels to the rest of the cast. Mostly Jessie. She's very comparable to Jessie and has other ties to Tiffany and Audrey as well. Let's break it down. We know Kiana was a pretty wild party girl in high school until she got pregnant, had to drop out, etc., just like Jessie. Now, clearly, Kiana got her act together to some degree. No more late night parties, total change of attitude, of mindset. She started developing healthier routines, and like she's found some real drive for herself. You know, Kiana was just like Audrey at one point. She's a naturally angry person. She has anger issues, so that's what's documented about her character, and she's managed to be at a stage in her life where she's bursting with positivity and friendliness, unlike Audrey. She's kind of a tomboy, but she's pretty open with people. She takes pride in her appearance. We know Kiana has a special interest in her appearance due to the amount of evidence relating to this concept. Like, she wears jewelry even while working out at the gym. She takes pride in her body and likes when people recognize the work she puts into it. And she talks about how much she loves wearing makeup, and that she doesn't feel that she feels uncomfortable going out without makeup on to make herself look prettier. She has date win lines where she says she wants to take a picture of herself and her date to post online to make her friends jealous. And it seems like public image weighs on her mind, you know? Kiana may give the impression that she's older, since she is a mom, and she's pretty responsible and has some life experience, but she's the same age as Audrey. She's just 1 year older than Tiffany. Barely, you know, a couple months. She's still a girl, barely turned 21. As much as Kiana does an excellent job of managing herself and keeping healthy routines and working hard to provide for her son, working low-paying jobs, being dirt-ass poor, we can still see glimpses that she's not a completely changed person. She didn't just evolve into her fucking phase 3. She still has that instinct, that desire to party, to drink, to have sex, to let loose. She just keeps her feelings under control and finds other stuff to put her manic energy into. She got into exercise as a healthier vice, something to put her energy into and get the satisfaction she wants out of it. We can pretty easily analyze that Kiana is a bit scared of attachment, a commitment phobic, if you will. She was almost certainly burned in the past. What seems to line up best with the evidence is that Kiana, party girl in high school, got pregnant underage, had a boyfriend at the time, and it was a big wake-up call for her, even before her son is born. She was considering getting an abortion, we know this, but didn't because she felt like she could rely on her boyfriend, who eventually bailed on her before her son was born, leaving her alone to take care of the kid. A lot of evidence points to this interpretation. Kiana speaks very frankly about the importance of trust, never lying to anyone, and that she hasn't met any... She kind of scathingly says that she hasn't met many reliable people in her life.
Do you think of yourself as a person who takes responsibility for his actions? That's really, really good to hear. Unfortunately, I haven't met many people like that.
She talks about her thoughts on abortions, she speaks about things in the past that she's angry and bitter about, and she's clearly afraid of long-term commitments. As much as she's looking for in a partner with, like, she is looking for someone with reliable qualities, someone with a stable job, good with their money, healthy routines, etc., she wants someone who can both help keep her in line, be a good parent, and also someone who would be like a good potential father figure and whatever, and someone she can count on. But at the same time, when the question of how long of a relationship she's looking for comes up, she is very hesitant. She doesn't feel comfortable saying she's looking for a relationship longer than a few months. Her past experience burned her on the idea of commitment, and perhaps taking care of herself all on her own has given her a sense of independence that she feels bad about potentially giving up. Whatever the case, Kiana's really interesting, got a lot of moving complexities to her emotional and life influences and motivations, and she's just so gosh darn likable.
I'm starving over here. Let's go eat, like, anything. Like, everything.
There we go. That's the whole cast. They are all great. Really underappreciated collection of characters. Each one of them is densely filled with little details, subtle little subtextual characterizations, great integration of writing and gameplay. Like, they all feel like fully fleshed out people. Not one pigeonholed into one narrative. They don't feel like typical characters in a story. Again, I talked about this in my previous video, but largely because there isn't a plot line and major conflict. They mostly feel like characters just living their daily lives rather than being part of some bombastic storyline. They each have a wide variety of hobbies we can infer from small details or explicit statements, so much more than what I have talked about in this video. There's so much, like, little interests and little things that flesh out their personality and make them feel even more fleshed out as people. Yeah, the only downside is that Huniepop 2 is nowhere near this level of intrigue with its character writing. It has, like, no subtlety, limited nuance, no overlapping connections that expand the characters, no rich history told through subtext, no, like, thematic implications. The creator's working on some new project with some of the old characters now. No idea what that's gonna be, but the art for it looks adorable, so I guess I'll wait and see what that is. Anyways, that's all for me today. See ya.